Jim Dreaver, and Jim was a student of Jean Klein, and I met Jim through that being, Jean Klein. And it's been 40 something years. And one person that I've stayed in contact with, all the students, Jean, I've been in France with him, in England, in Holland, in Greece, in America, of course. The one person that I'm in contact with is Jim. Yeah, we've been friends for a very long time.
We have indeed.
Yeah. And he has made, like Bob Marley talked about his lyrics and his songs, that he made it so that children could understand them. And Jim has that gift, that ability to talk about non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, in such a way that it's just really simple and clear. So, Jim, welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for that introduction, Jonathan. And I had heard this about me expressed in the way you just did. And yeah, I like to think of a 5-year-old could understand what I'm saying. That's a great gift. So, greetings, everybody. And let's dive into loving your triggers and why it's so important to love them. In fact, when you love it, when you truly have loved all your triggers, you're no longer triggered because there's love. Love heals everything, and it heals our triggers. So I just want to start off by saying that yesterday was my father's birthday, and had he lived, he would have been 94 yesterday. So I just want to acknowledge that. And also share one story about my father. When my then wife and our son, who was about 4 years old at the time, went back to New Zealand in January. My son is now 39, so it's a long time ago. And my father was with his new wife and was sitting at dinner time. And it's the season reverse, so this is January, but it's summer. And we were talking, and my father, who was sitting next to, one moment he put his knife and fork down and looked at me, turned his head and looked at me. I looked at him, and we silently eye gazed for like maybe less than a minute. But that was such a profound connection, I've always remembered it. I thought to myself afterward, he nodded and smiled and then went back to eating. That moment of connection was so profound, so deep. I realized if I never saw my father again, I didn't see him again. There was enough. We truly met. And I quote from my new book, Love Your Triggers. Near the end of the book, I quote a man named Jean Paolo Girardi, who's a friend of mine. And his father told him in Chile, that he was born and raised in Chile. He said, if every man could look into each other's eyes, there would be no more wars, because people would see each other at their essential level, free of any story. So the simple mantra that is at the heart of my book is this: who is this me that gets triggered? Who is this me that gets afraid? Who is this me that suffers? Who is this me that feels shame Who is this me that feels guilt? So you say that to yourself every time you get triggered, every moment. I promise you, you won't be able to find it. The me, if you look inside yourself, deeply inside yourself, in every corner of your psyche to find the me, you won't be able to find it other than as a thought, as a belief, as a story you tell yourself. If you do this practice time and time again, every time you get triggered, you will come to the realization of your true nature. You'll awaken. You'll get enlightened. You'll be free. Because there isn't a me other than as a thought, a story. There's no me. That's the whole point of what I write about. And once you realize this, the more you realize there's no me, the freer you are. And you're just here now, in this very moment. You honor the past. You keep an eye on the future, including goal setting, making plans. You live right here, right now, in this very moment. This very moment is all there is. The more free you are of the me, that's the realization you come to. Simple, huh? Simple. But we've spent our lives identifying with this me, this I, this ego I. And I searched for enlightenment myself for 20 years. I started out with J. Krishnamurti. He was my initial inspiration. And it was when I was reading him that I had this genuine enlightenment experience. So I remember very clearly. I was lying in my bed in the Santa Rosa, where I used to live and practice as a chiropractor. This is in 1977, somewhere around then. I was in my early 30s. And I woke up one morning, and as I lay there in bed next to my first wife, she was still sleeping. Suddenly, everything fell away in my mind, just dropped away. And I had never had this experience before. Everything dropped away from my mind. I heard a mourning dove cry outside. And I just felt this incredible sense of peace and oneness with everything. And a thought entered my mind. So this is what these guys are talking about. This is what Krishnamurti is talking about. It's all right here, right now. I get out of bed, slowly and crept into my study to write about it. This is on my typewriter. This is before the day. Computers were just around the corner. And now we have this technology, right? This is Zoom technology. It's amazing. The taste of enlightenment faded that day, of course. I came back to my normal, anxious, ego-driven self. But something shifted, something as if a hole had been punctured in my consciousness. I was seeing the reality behind reality, the big R reality behind reality. And I knew somehow I was that reality. It took me another 11 years, I think it was, before I finally woke up to the fact that I wasn't any story. I was always this pure awareness that's here right now. So that's by way of saying that the fastest way, the surest way to freedom I know of is to do this freedom practice. Whenever you get triggered, whenever you're suffering, whenever you're feeling anxious, whenever you're afraid, whenever you're lonely, whenever you're depressed, say the mantra to yourself, who is this me that is depressed? Who is this me that gets afraid? and then go inside yourself and find out, look for the me. And I promise you, you won't be able to find it, other than it's a thought, a story, a memory. And you unite your thoughts, stories, and memories. Why not? Because they come and go, they shift and change. But you are the awareness that is always here. You are this awareness that is always here. So how this works, how this can work in this talk here, we're engaging in this dialogue, is for you to look, take a few moments, look inside yourself and ask yourself, where do I still get triggered? Where am I still not free? Where do I get triggered still, or where am I not free? And then we can share. Anybody who wants to be free now, a little bit freer, I invite you to share where you get triggered with me. Or if you have a question, let's open it up now. And maybe Mary Grace or Jonathan, you could, we can see the screen there before you, but whoever raises their hand wants to share.
I'm seeing Thomas Griggs has his hand raised, Jim.
Okay, great. Hey, Mary Grace.
Sure.
Thank you, Jim. I just read an article in the New York Times about how driving has deteriorated in this country dramatically since COVID. And the first trigger I thought of was my impatience and resentment when I'm driving and something is blocking my path that I didn't plan on. And it impedes me. And I have a sense of righteousness about I should not be impeded in any way. I'm very clear because it's such an embarrassing trigger. It's right in my face.
Beautiful.
If your impatience and righteousness are the tags on that.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing. And I used to be the same way. And in fact, I have a lesson in my book on when it's titled "When Someone Cuts You Off in the Freeway." Deals with that exactly. So the ebook is available for donation of any amount at my website, jimdreaver.com.
Thank you.
In fact, my email address is jim@jimdreaver.com. Anyway, so this is a common phenomenon, right? Most people get pissed off on the freeway. And so it's a perfect time to do the practice. As you're driving along, focus on the driving, you can say to yourself, okay, this is showing me I'm not yet free. I still get pissed off. And then ask yourself the mantra, the question, who is this me that gets pissed off? Who is this me that gets resentful? And of course, you won't be able to close your eyes because you're driving on the freeway. But you can look inwardly and search for the me, and you realize the me is a thought that comes and goes. That's it. The me is a thought that comes and goes. And you're not anything that comes and goes. We are not anything that comes and goes. We are what is always here. We're this beautiful shining light, this luminous light that's always here. We're always this. We're always this. This is what we are. We're the luminous light that is always here. We're never not here. But we're the luminous light that's never not here. It used to be a website called nevernothere.com. I don't know whether it's still around. It's called nevernothere.com. And it was a guy interviewing non-dual teachers, and I was interviewed on that website. Because enlightenment or freedom or awakening or realization is all about getting in touch with what is never not here. What is never not here is the pure awareness we are. We are pure awareness, pure consciousness. We're always this. So to summarize, Thomas, next time you experience the resentment or anxiety, whatever it comes up, ask yourself, keeping your eyes open and firmly glued on the freeway, of course, ask yourself, who is this me that gets triggered? Who is this me that suffers? Who is this me that gets resentful? You won't be able to find it. But you, as a pure awareness, the pure, beautiful awareness you are always here, brother. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Mary
Yeah.
Grace has her hand up.
Mary Grace.
You know, I have plenty of triggers. I relate to the triggers that Thomas was expressing, but really what's present for me right now is how I miss being with you in person in those groups in Santa Monica. But even on Zoom, I literally can feel your presence, or maybe it's the presence. And it's as if there's a reminder. Oh yeah, like I can feel that. I feel it in my body. I feel it mentally. It just brings me completely present. So I'm just feeling that right now and just appreciating it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mary Grace. You know, the word satsang, you know, satsang is a common term in East Indian circles. And it's often used by Westerners to summarize what they're doing. So a satsang is, sat means truth, sang means comes from sangha, so community of truth. So when we meet in here, so we're meeting here now, we're meeting in truth.
Yeah.
We're meeting in pure awareness, pure heart-oriented, heart-open, heart-centered awareness.
You know, another thing that comes to mind from our in-person group, something you said one time really has stayed with me. I think my words may not be as eloquent as yours were, but it was like you asked in the group, who here has had a moment, a flash of enlightenment? And I think all of us raised our hands where we've had that just flash of enlightenment. And you said it's like the pearls on a necklace. You just string those together, and be more with that. And that's been a really such a powerful reminder for me, rather than me sort of using that against myself, like trying to get there, or feeling like I'm not there yet. Remembering those moments actually brings me to that presence. So that's been, just wanted to tell you that it's been very helpful for me.
Beautiful.
All these years.
Yeah, beautiful, Mary Grace. Thank you. I remember when we do satsangs in your house, you and Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Tim raised his hand.
Yeah, hi, Jim. Good to see you.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, great to see you. So many years. I just wanted to ask you if you have a practice at night, a practice as you're going to sleep, maybe into dream time or something, if you wake up in the middle of the night and in the morning, like that section of time, if you have a practice what you think about or whatever to continue the stream of non-duality?
Right. Good question. No, I don't have a practice. I'm just here now. And when I'm laying down to sleep, mostly I fall asleep pretty quickly, but sometimes I don't. But I don't toss and turn, or maybe once in a while I'll toss and turn, but I don't have a practice because there's no me to have a practice.
Do you sometimes feel you're here now inside the sleep and inside the dreams?
Well, yes, in a way, because I long ago I observed that nightmares, for example, when you truly awake and free, you no longer have nightmares. There may be some shocking images, but you know that they don't affect you because there's no one to be affected. You're just here now. You're just a beautiful being here now. And so no matter what time of day or night it is, right? It's always now. It's always now. I love you, Tim. I love everybody here.
Sarah has her hand up.
Yes, Sarah.
Hi, Jim. It's great to see you again. I wanted to share something that happened last week. I was supposed to have a meeting with someone, and I had a lot of anxiety around it, and I was already expecting to be very intimidated by this person. And then I remember this is something that you've said many times, but it was actually Jonathan who reminded me. Jonathan said, and he wasn't talking to me, but he said, stop taking yourself to be somebody.
Yeah.
And I realized it was really my ego that was having all this anxiety about
Yeah.
what this person is going to think of me and how is this meeting going to go. My true self didn't really care about any of that.
Right.
So I went to the meeting with this sort of mentality attitude, and it went really well, and I didn't have any anxiety, and I didn't really, I wasn't intimidated by this person. And so it was sort of really powerful, and I'm grateful for the teaching from you and Jonathan.
Beautiful, Sarah. Thank you. That's what I call a win.
Yeah, for sure.
And right, this is, I don't know if you know this, but win stands for what is now. So a win is, you experience a win in my teaching when you start to get lost in a story with all the suffering that entails. And suddenly you realize, my God, I'm not a person. I'm just here now. And you come back to here now. That's a win. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
There's Paul.
Yeah, I have a little placard here that says "Be here now," and when we did these 3-day seminars with the CEOs and their teams, "Be here now" was one of the early modules. We talked about being present and how with their families and with the people who followed them and how important that was. And it always surprised me that this was a real revelation for a lot of these executives. And once they figured it out, it just shifted their whole life.
Oh,
being present, and because that's the only reality, right? Everything else is your thoughts and your speculations.
Yes.
My favorite quote from John O'Donohue is, "I would love to live like a river flows, surprised by its own unfolding."
Beautiful.
That's how I try to live my life, even though, I do have some worries, physical problems, but just be present. Life is beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Paul, thank you. Yeah, I never have done a seminar for CEOs. I would love to do that, but it hasn't happened. It's all about being here now. It's all about being present. I sometimes say, be present, heart open, no story. Be present, heart open, no story. That's the essence of what it means to be awake and free. Just breathe into this now moment. Everybody, just invite you just to breathe into this now moment and feel the timelessness of this moment now. When we live in this place, we see each other's beauty. We look into other people's eyes and see ourselves reflected back to us. When we meet in the place of no story, then our heart is open. We're loving. We're kind. I watched that video on I know many of you've seen it already, on the man who his son was murdered, and it's all about forgiveness. And he's visited the murderer of his son in jail many times. He spent like 20 years in jail now, and soon they'll be released, and the two of them will going around on seminars talking about forgiveness, the ultimate forgiveness. So I write about that in my book, my new book, Love Your Triggers. Forgiveness is the important practice. In fact, the whole Course in Miracles is based around forgiveness. And so this man has forgiven the murderer of his son, and the murderer himself has forgiven himself for murdering his son. It's a tremendous story. And that's the kind of thing we need to have happen in the world. Because I've been in a war. I was in Vietnam in 1967-68 during the Tet Offensive. Very intense time of the war. I've seen the horrors of war firsthand. And now Ukraine is like being invaded by Russia. Vladimir Putin is 2 years into his invasion of Ukraine. And now this situation in Gaza, Israel, Hamas, they're at war. And they're bombing the shit out of Gaza, right? The whole city will have to be rebuilt, everything, all the infrastructure. I mean, this madness has to stop. This is what inspired me about Krishnamurti when I started getting into this. Because Krishnamurti saw the horror of war himself. And we're all getting older. And I don't know how much time I have left, but I want to get my book out there, get the teaching out there. It's another avenue for freedom, true freedom. America talks about freedom a lot. And I love the fact that I love America. I was born in New Zealand. I came over here when I was 26 years old to study to be a chiropractor. My first wife and I never left. We decided we liked it too much to wanted to stay here. So I went to Maine, got a green cards, and then came back to California and practiced in Northern California. So-
Diana has her hand up.
Yeah, please.
Well,
Hey,
this is
Diana.
bringing something for me that is really curious. I'm realizing that probably my biggest trigger, having this core wound of loneliness as a child, is that I have a deep fear that I won't be received.
Mm.
And so it's been my life path to be received and have and caring about others being received as well. But I also see that this thing that runs me is what makes me creative and to do the things that I do in order to be received have been my work. And I come alive doing those things, but there's a drivenness involved with it at the same time. And I don't know. I mean, it's very odd to see that my trigger is responsible for what brings me joy in being a creative human. So I don't know quite what to do with that, but I thought, well, I just go ahead and say it.
Thank you, Diana. Well, it's a do you feel like truly free on the inside?
Is that a question? I didn't quite get it.
Do you feel truly free on the inside?
From time to time. Yes, I have a lot of moments of feeling.
Excuse me, there's a minute. I've got the coffee already.
You already got the
Yeah,
coffee?
I got made tea.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so,
I'm on a Zoom class.
oh, okay. All right, I'll see you tomorrow, huh?
Hey, thank you.
Bye.
Because it's so important to me, I do have a lot of moments of stillness and presence.
Yeah.
But still that trigger exists. I notice it almost every day.
Okay. Well, listen, and you certainly deserve to be relaxed and free, right? So just use the mantra. Ask yourself the question: who is this me that tries too much to be?
Thank you.
Right? You're welcome.
It's really good.
Yeah, and you of all people, you're sitting right on the edge of freedom, true freedom.
Yeah, I feel that way.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I support that. I love you and I support you, and yeah, yes. Just don't try so much. Don't try so much.
It's so wonderful that you're offering your book to us. I hope at some point you'll tell us how we can. Find
Yeah,
out.
just my book is available through my jimdreaver.com. Just send me an email. I'll make a donation of any amount, $5, whatever, and on my website, and I'll send you the book. Love you. Blessings. And so you come back to being here now. That's always, this is our default. We exchange words, we share insights, and then we, whenever there's nothing going on, we just come back to being here now. We come back to pure being and feel the experience of being. You can feel it's felt as a sense of ease, harmony, and flow. in your true nature is felt as a sense of ease, harmony, and flow. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to experience this feeling of ease, harmony, and flow. You feel one with the universe. You feel empowered by the universe to do to offer your gift to the world, whatever it is. We all have our own gifts and talents. Anybody else have a question, something that they want to share, a trigger that they notice that's there? I can help you deal with it.
I have a question. So, Jim, this is so insightful. And so
Oh,
now
you,
I'm Amy.
Amy, all right. You're Amy, okay.
As a little kid and as a grown adult, I've always, my trigger has been passing out, fainting from fear.
Mm.
And I've gone to several places to even went into hypnotherapy to see if that would reduce the anxiety. And I think the only time that I've really found it to not be present and not leave from fear from shots is when in May I had a foot injury, and the doctor that I went to was so loving and so kind and put love first.
Mm.
And I also had I had a backup of of a friend that was so loving and was like, I will never let anything hurt you. And I think that presence, because we can't hold two separate things in our head at once, that power of now overrid the power of my fear, and I didn't faint. And it truly, fear, the taking away from our presence takes us away into that helplessness.
Mm. So is there a question there?
I was just going to say, is there a question there? What would you say about that, about someone that faints from fear?
When was the last time you fainted?
Probably a year ago. But so it's healing. And maybe that is, it's no longer now. It's not in the now. So it would be part of the story.
Right. That's part of your story, right?
Right. So if you let the story go, then everything else has to go as well.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Right. It's amazing. And yet you, Amy, you're this beautiful woman is still here. Right. And we're all beautiful people who are still very much here. We just have no story about ourselves. Other people have a story about you, of course.
But if you let that story in, then that begins to take away your now. And then that now then leaps into the fear of, oh, I got to be what they say I am.
Right, exactly. But when you're truly free, and I'm about true freedom, when you're truly free, you're free of the I, the me. You're free of the storyteller. The story is one thing to be free of, but the freedom from the storyteller, that's what's the crux of it. You got to see that you're not your ego either. You have an ego, but you're not your ego.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the ego you that has all the problems. So long as we identify with this me, this I, this ego I. But when you see that, and you're seeing it now, you smile in freedom. Yeah. Blessings.
Thank you.
I might have another question. I talk myself a lot about the observer self in me, like the part of me that kind of watches
Yeah.
my emotional reaction, watches what the dynamics that are going inside my mind. And I've never thought about that as being the essence of who I am, but maybe that is. It's a very powerful ally. It's very helpful to me to be
Yeah.
in that observer place. What would you? I just wanted to know your thoughts about that.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. I'm glad you brought this up. So step back one step behind it. Look, and that's who you really are. You're the awareness that knows the observing self. What we really are cannot be described or explained. We can say we're pure awareness, pure consciousness. Those are words which point to what we are, pure awareness, true nature. But we're not even that. Drop those words, and then you're being in the flow here now.
I remember it was years ago. So by being with you now, I'm having all this kind of flooding back. I was really struggling with hurt around interactions with my son. And you had me stand behind myself. And for the first time, I was able to see, and I remember putting my hands on my shoulders and saying, "Oh, you poor dear," oh, because I could observe and feel, how hard I was trying or the pain that I was in, but I wasn't in it. I was observing it. I was watching it. That was really very powerful for me. I still use that, actually.
Beautiful.
I see that I still carry an old story, and that the story and the reality are so different. Certain things happen that remind me of the old story. Yeah, oh wow, my mind is overflowing right now with things that you've said that make so much sense. Of yeah, not just being in that story. And it's interesting, a lot of times I've talked about a very domineering father, and now I still certain issues, memory issues. He sounds just like my father. A lot of people say, "Oh, you have a big opportunity to let go of this stuff." And yeah, but oh, triggers. That's what it was. Yeah, because you asked triggers. That's a biggie for me. But I know I've learned in the last year or two that a trigger for me is when I talk to people, I think I'm this child talking to an adult. And I'm an adult. That it's taken a long time for my, how would I say, for my mind to catch up. I mean, well, that's not how I want to say it, but it takes, yeah, I was stifled as a kid to totally quite immensely as far as emotional growth. So I'm starting to catch up, but I mean, I love what you're saying and everybody shares it. It has even more meaning for me now than ever before. I'm gradually more and more and more be able to see these things. So it's very different when it's still working on it, but when I go up to someone and talk to someone and not just think, okay, I'm this kid, you know, they're looking at me. Yeah, just, something else you said earlier. It's just, yeah, just finding my own power, but not just finding my own power, but tapping into the universal power or just belonging. I mean, oh my gosh, it's like sometimes I think about it, I'm just now joining the human race.
Right. I've had
Yeah,
that
that's
too,
what it
by the
feels
way.
like.
I sometimes said to myself, hey, welcome to the human race, Jim.
That's it. Mhm.
Yeah.
Quite awakening. Right. Yeah.
Quite an awakening, isn't it? Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Quite
Jim,
amazing.
I think we're coming to a close, brother. So
All right. Yeah. It's been great being with you all.
Thank you, Jim, so much. You know, Jim has Zoom gatherings, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've missed that. I will send it out to the group.
Oh, thank you.
I just really appreciate kind of revisiting this for me. I feel right now I'm feeling very at peace and different than I did before.
Oh, beautiful. Grace, thank you. Yeah, I have these gatherings every Thursday night, 6 o'clock, and every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. It's free, about an hour. Come and we work on our triggers. Come be with us, and people get freer. I just got an email from a few months ago from a woman who I did private sessions with, never met her. Did about a series of like 10 series of 10 sessions. I did 3 batches of those, and she's now free. She said, Jim, I got what you're talking about. I'm now free. Totally free. She's free of the story, free of everything. I love you all, and let's do this again sometime.
Hey, Jim, one more time about your book and the donation and stuff.
So the book is just go to my website, jimdreaver.com.
Right.
And donate button, and I'll send you. I get notified by the PayPal the donation.
Okay.
Any amount, and I'll send you the book.
Okay.
I will send that information out to the group.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, I love you all.